Nothing really screams funky bass line like a white dude wearing a Jurassic Park t-shirt and plush elephant slippers, but that doesn't mean that I can't feel the groove in my soul. So today we're talking about just some kind of simple ways you can make just really simple bass lines that sound kind of funky and groove a little bit. And we are going to use the Rickenbacker 4003 through the JHS Colour Box as kind of like a preamp direct in, which is becoming my favorite way to record bass. Now this is going to be an example from a song I just posted a few days ago, which a lot of people are like, hey, we need a bass lesson for that. So this is going to be a clip of it, and then we're going to kind of break it down and just talk about how you can kind of match a drum kit to a bass line, keep it simple, make it sound good. So the first thing you'll notice is the timing in that is 5/4. That just means every bar is 5 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what you have to do is you have to listen to the drum track and then diagnose the count. And once we can do that, then we can start adding bass and kind of like fulfilling the bass's role in this particular track, right? So the way we're going to count this is 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 5. 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 5. Bop, ba, da, bop, 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 bop. And we have to find a way to match what we're playing on the bass to that kit to kind of make a groove, all right? So we're just going to do this in the original key, which was going to start on an A. I know that's actually down half a step, but we're just going to do this because it makes the fret's a little bit easier, right? So root note is A, right here, 5th fret on the low E string, okay? We have to match, we're just going to use 2 notes, the root note of the chord and its 5th. At its most simple, bass playing can just be broken down to 1s, 5s, octaves, stuff like that, and then just kind of like match the groove. I think a lot of times guitar players specifically try to make a bass a little bit more melodic when maybe that's not what the song is calling for. But the first part we're going to do is going to sound like this. Okay, so that's only 2 notes. We have the A here, 5th fret on the E string. Then we're going to skip to its octave, 7th fret on the D string, okay? But again, diagnosing that count was the most important thing. 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 5, okay? So because we're thinking of that, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5. All right, so let's take the first 3 counts right there. That's why this is such a good exercise, because counting to 5 is so different. It kind of forces you to think about the count a little bit more. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5. 1 and 2 and 3. So what you notice is I'm hitting the low E string, the root note on the 1, 1 and 2. On 2, I'm getting my middle finger ready to pluck the D string, adding a percussive nature to that that's going to lock into the drum kit. 1 and 2 and 3. All right, so the and of 2, 1 and 2, and is going to be the 7th fret, the octave on the D string. 1 and 2 and 3. 1 and 2 and 3. You'll also notice that I'm not sustaining the root note. I'm hitting it and jumping off of it, because that's a better way to kind of match the attack of a drum kit. So it grooves a little bit more that way, right? 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 5. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add the second note here, okay? So the 5th of a chord, just like a power chord on a guitar or whatever, the 5th of this note, and again, that comes from the major scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7th fret on the A string. So we're getting the root note, the kind of mute, its octave, then now we're going to go to its 5th and play its octave, okay? So again, that octave shape is a really important thing if you want to just kind of groove a bass a little bit, right? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5. All right? So again, same thing. The attack of it is going to be 4, 5. It's not going to be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5. Again, that fits, but there's a little bit more sustain. It doesn't groove as much. All right? So A and its octave. The next thing we can do is, because it's open A string, we can kind of add a hammer on. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5. Again, because that and of 3 is kind of in there and kind of ghosting it sometimes with the drum kit. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Just do that. Then maybe drag it back into the beginning. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5. Drag 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5. Okay, so that's just one chord right there, right? It's just a root note on A, its 5th, and then the octave of the 5th, right? And it kind of grooves. So the next thing we're going to do is go to the next chord, which is really just going to be here, D, the 5th fret on the A string. We do the same thing, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5. All right, now this is going to be the same thing conceptually, but we're going to back it off. Instead of going to the octave higher, we're going to go to the 5th lower. So what I mean by that is we have the root note there. There's the D. There's its octave. And then now we have its 5th. But then we can go to the 5th below, which is going to be back to the A, actually. So D, its octave, its 5th below. D, octave, 5th below. You can always do this on any chord as long as the root note is here. Doesn't matter if it's major or minor, that root and its 5th is always going to work. So we've got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5, the next chord. Now you'll notice the mute here, 1 and 2 and 3. See how I'm kind of getting that? I'm getting that mute there, and 4, 5, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5. What I'm doing there is I'm striking a muted A string. Sometimes you might even be able to get a harmonic, if that's what you're going for. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5. And these little kind of like tiny percussive things, I think adds a little bit to the track. Now sometimes you can overdo it and it sounds a little bit too much and you might be kind of masking something the drum kit is doing, but I personally thought this was kind of adding a little something to it, right? So again, it's all about diagnosing that count. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5. Next chord we're going to get is just going to be a step lower on the C. Same thing, right? 3rd fret now, its octave is the 5th fret on the G string. Get the mute, 5 on D, back to the 5th below, the lower octave. C, G, C, G. All right, now we can keep going to the next chord, which is going to be F. All right, so now it's the 1st fret. 1 and 2 and 3, it's 5th above, just like we did for the A. A, F. Now again, those aren't out of order, but really the chord progression here is going to be A, D, below, C, F, E. Okay, so now E is going to be open. So we can do all the same things, but now we're just doing with the open E. Its octave is going to be 2nd fret on the D string. And then we can kind of hammer on into its 5th, which is B, which is 2nd fret on the A string. And then its octave. E, octave, 5. E, octave, 5. Okay? The only other part after that is just 3 more chords. G, C, F, G, C, below, F. You can kind of keep it here if you don't want to go to it, because you don't always have to follow the same thing. If you switch it up, it sounds pretty good. But this is kind of like a good way to find the pocket. We've diagnosed what the drum kit is doing. We're trying to mimic a little bit of it on bass, but still add the foundation of the root notes of the chord and kind of like let the melody be taken care of by the other instruments, right? So again, this is just one philosophy on bass playing. There's a lot of different ways to do it, but some people asked me for a lesson on this. I thought this was kind of like the best way to go about it, right? So basically what you remember is we have root note, it's octave, we get that percussive kind of hit, because if you're gonna have to attack the string anyway, you're gonna wanna do it in time. If you're like, then it kind of sounds sloppy, right? You wanna either get it in the groove or just kind of play it clean. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so that's just playing it clean. Or with the percussive. Alright, so really easy song, just following the root notes along. And again, I think you can kind of take this into really any song to kind of make cool bass lines when it's only 2 notes. It's the root note of the chord, its 5th, and then find the octave of the other 5th. Whether if you're rooting on the A string, remember, you can always go 5th below. If you're reading on the E string, remember you can always kind of jump up to its fifth and then grab the octave there. So hopefully you learn a little bit something, because I think bass is just so much fun to play, and it's just so much more fun when you can really lock into a percussion track and kind of add to the groove of what you have going on. So again, definitely make sure you check out that song, because I'm really proud of it. I had a lot of cool collaborators on that one, so that is definitely linked below if you want to check out the bass track in its entirety. And again, remember, the whole thing is just a half step down. If you wanted to play along with it, instead of starting at 5, you just start on 4. Down a step, B. Now we go open. And then, because I can't go down to E flat, I have to play the 6th fret. So basically that's how you play Overcast. And again, hopefully you found some ways you might be able to incorporate this into your own playing, whether it's bass, whether it's guitar. The same thing works as far as like trying to find a groove. So if you have any questions or comments, hit me up in the comment section, Instagram, Twitter, or the website. I'll talk to you all soon. Thanks a lot.